Good afternoon. Now we will continue with the Constitution. In the last class, we have seen the collective privileges of members of Parliament and also to both the houses of Parliament. We have also seen that the House may punish a person who is found guilty of breach of privilege or contempt of the House, either by reprimand or admonition or by imprisonment for a specified period. In the case of its own members, two more punishments are available to the House, namely suspension from the service of the House and expulsion. We have seen a few examples also in the case of expulsion, as well as the powers of the Speaker with regard to what is the rule number 373, 374, 374A, etc. Normally, in cases where the offence of breach of privilege or contempt of Parliament is not serious, the person concerned may be called to the bar of the House and may be admonished by the Speaker or the Chairman, as the case may be, by an order of the House. That is the normal practice. In Lok Sabha, there have been a couple of cases where people were summoned before the House and have been reprimanded. For example, Editor Karanjia, perhaps you know, the editor of Blitz Weekly, he was called to the bar and he was admonished. A petition was filed, Mr. Karanjia, in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court dismissed the petition since the court held that it has no jurisdiction in the matter. Similarly, a government official, I think one Sri S.C. Mukherjee, was called to the bar of the House and reprimanded for giving false evidence before Public Accounts Committee. In Rajya Sabha also, three people were reprimanded at the bar of the House for prematurely publishing the finance bill of 1980 before it is passed by the Parliament. These are a few instances where the Parliament called the people at fault to the bar of the House and they have been admonished by the Parliament. Now let us see the privileges available exclusively to the members of Parliament. Number one, freedom of speech and expression. This we have already seen, which is available to the exclusively to the members of the Parliament, and we have given the example also, JMM case, etc. And also immunity from any proceedings of the court in respect of anything said or any vote given by him in Parliament or in any committee thereof. The same JMM case where the Supreme Court, what is the orders of the Supreme Court, we have explained in the first class itself. Freedom from arrest in civil cases during the continuation of the session and 40 days before its commencement and 40 days after the conclusion. See, remember, the civil proceedings case, a member of Parliament cannot be arrested during the course of the proceedings of the House. Suppose the session of the House is say 30 days he cannot be arrested. Similarly, 40 days before and 40 days after the conclusion of the session. So, to the entire period, let us say that 1 month is the session period, then 40 days before he cannot be arrested and 40 days after he cannot be arrested. During the continuation of the proceedings, he cannot be arrested. So, 30 days plus 40 days plus 40 days, all the 110 days he is not entitled for 80 plus 30 110 days he cannot be arrested by the government. It is worthy of notice that the member cannot be arrested not only when the House is in session, but not only when the parliamentary committee of which he is a member is meeting, but also during 40 days before and after the session of the Parliament, or when he is coming to or going from the House. When he is coming to or going from the House, it would be a breach of privilege even if the obstruction is cast at a place outside New Delhi when he is on his way to Delhi. When he is on his way to Delhi to attend any business of Parliament or committee thereof. The purpose of the privilege is to ensure safe travel, safe arrival of the member of parliament, and also to regulate the attendance of the members of parliament. So much protection has been given, even if it is a civil proceedings. That is the most important thing you should remember. Then exemption of the members from liability to serve as a jurors, and similarly prohibition of arrest and service of legal process within the premises of the house without the permission of the presiding officer. And members or officers of the house are not to give any evidence or produce any document in any court relating to the proceedings of the house without the permission of the house. Members or officers of the house are not to attend as witnesses before the other house or the committee thereupon, or before the house of state legislature or the committee of the state legislature without the permission of the house. So, secondly, it is important to note that they cannot be compelled to do so without their consent. Their consent is also necessary. Without their consent, it cannot be. In fact, when some members of the house, including a former speaker, were given notice to appear before the Supreme Court in a case relating to Jagadguru Shankaracharya, either in person or by an advocate, a question of privilege was raised. This is a very famous case. Some of the members, others including the former speaker of the Lok Sabha, were given notice to appear before the Supreme Court in a case which relates to Jagadguru Shankaracharya, either in person or by an advocate. And a question of privilege was raised in the House. The Speaker directed these members to ignore the notice, and the Attorney General was asked to bring it to the notice of the court that what is contained in the case is something which is covered under Article 105 of the Constitution. Very simple. They have. I remember that regarding Jagadguru Shankaracharya was under discussion with reference to his remarks about the untouchability. So members spoke something against the Jagadguru. So a defamation petition was filed in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court issued notice for the members of parliament who had given remarks against the Jagadguru. But the speaker said, don't appear before the Supreme Court. On some observation having been made by the court with regard to the stand taken by the House, in as much as the members were served only a notice of lodgment and not summons. See, the court has given only a lodgment and not the summons. But the matter, again, it was discussed in the House. The speaker beautifully observed whether the court issued a notice or a summons. It does not matter. It does not make any difference to us. Ultimately, the privilege of the House is involved when the members are asked to defend themselves for what they said in the House. See, this is the most important thing. First instance, he said, Speaker directed the members to ignore the notice, and the Attorney General was asked to bring it to the notice of the Supreme Court that what is contained in the case is something which is covered under Article 105. That means the 105 is the privilege of the members of the Parliament that was sought to be brought to the notice of the Supreme Court by Attorney General. And the same speaker has said that it does not matter any difference to us whether it is a what is called lodgment or whether it is a summons or whether it is a notice. Ultimately, the privilege of the House is involved when the members are asked to defend themselves for what they said in the House. Interestingly, when one member of the one member who was served the notice expressed his desire to go and defend himself in the Supreme Court, the Speaker said that if he appears before the court fully knowing the Article 105, I think we will have to bring a privilege motion against him. See the courage of the Speaker. He said if the member himself volunteered, remember the member himself volunteered because he got the notice. Apparently he may be afraid. He volunteered himself that he will go to the Supreme Court and defend himself. For that, the Speaker said, if you go, it is a breach of privilege of the House, and a motion will be moved against you, and a privilege motion will be moved against you. This is the proof of zeal with which the privileges of the House were preserved and protected, so that even if a member willingly wanted to go and appear before the Supreme Court, the House said no. It is the question of dignity and privilege of the whole House, and you cannot bring the House into disrepute by doing so, and we will start proceedings against you. We will start proceedings against you. Thus, let us remember that the freedom of speech and expression is guaranteed to every citizen under Article 19, Clause 1A of the Constitution. But this right is subject to reasonable restrictions that can be imposed under the Clause 2 of Article 19. On the other hand, a right under Article 105 is an independent right and is not subject to any restriction included under Article 19 of the Constitution. So only there are subject to only two restrictions are there. One is what is provided in the Constitution, and second is what is the provided in the rules of the procedure of the House. It is therefore clear that the freedom of speech under Article 105 is different from the freedom of speech included in Article 19. It is subject to various restrictions. So you should know the difference between Article 105 of the Constitution and Article 19 of the Constitution. At the initial stage, I told you the freedom of speech and expression, three kinds. One is available to citizens, which is restricted various parts, and another is available to the what is known as government servants, again further restricted, and the third is the members of parliament, which is insulated through Article 105 of the Constitution. Only two restrictions: subject to the provisions of the Constitution and subject to the rules made by the House. So there are only two restrictions: subject to the provisions of the Constitution, read with Article 121. And what is the other restriction is what is provided in the rules of the procedure. That I have already told you, unparliamentary language, etc. These are all the two restrictions. Now, there are two phrases which you very often see in the lesson. That is, one is a breach of privilege and the other is contempt of House. Even though these two phrases having been used interchangeably, there are different implications. Normally, a breach of privilege may amount to a contempt of the House. Likewise, a contempt of House may include breach of privilege also. Contempt of House, however, has wider implication. There may be a contempt of House without specifically committing a breach of privilege. Similarly, actions which are not breach of privileges of any specific privilege may be offense against the dignity and authority of the House. So, remember, actions which are not breaches of any specific privilege but are offences against the dignity and authority of the House may amount to contempt of House. To cite an example, to make the difference, to cite an example, disobedience to a legitimate order of the House is not a breach of privilege. Instead, it amounts to contempt of the House. I give an example. Let us say the Parliament, the Lok Sabha has issued a notice to one Mr. X, who is the Secretary of particular ministry, and Secretary of the particular ministry refused to come. So that means it is not a breach of privilege, it is a contempt of the House, which is more serious. That is to cite an example, I told you disobedience to the legitimate order of the House is not a breach of privilege. Instead, it amounts to contempt of the House. That is the most important point you should remember. It should be noted that the Parliament has not made any special law codifying these privileges. By and large, these privileges are based on constitutional provisions, number one. Various laws made by the Parliament, number two. Various rules made by both the houses of Parliament, number three. Parliamentary conventions, number four. Judicial interpretation, number five. And the decisions and directions given by the Speaker and the Chairman Rajya Sabha, number six. These are all the normal codify. In the absence of specific code of conduct for the members of the Parliament, what is the sources? These are all the sources. That is, number one, constitutional provision. Number two, various laws made by the Parliament. Number three, rules of both the houses of Parliament. Number four, parliamentary conventions. Number five, judicial interpretation. Number six, decisions and directions given by the Speaker and Chairman Rajya Sabha. So we have completed the privileges of parliament and legislature, both assemblies as well as councils in the state legislatures and as well as parliament, both the houses of parliament, we are completed. Now, what is the powers of parliament? What are the various powers of the parliament? That we will come in the next class tomorrow, apparently. Thank you.